Welcome back, everybody, to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSperts. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen, and joining me, as always, on Tuesday, Mr. Matthew Rooney. Andy, of course, over at the BetSperts Golf channel, talking about all the good stuff. They're about 30 minutes in, so hop on over there and check that out. Or if you got bored of that and you hopped over here, welcome to Brown Bag Bets. We're happy to be here. Matt, how you doing? How's everything since we last talked? I mean, what have you been watching with all these sports going on?
I watched so much college basketball this weekend, and it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I think we've talked about it here that I don't really get. I kind of watch college basketball here and there throughout the season, but really once the Super Bowl ends is when I start watching, and then college, conference championship weekend is when I really just like it's on nonstop. Had a pretty nice weekend, pretty nice conference tournament week. To give myself a nice little spending cushion here going into the tournament. So I'm pretty excited. How about yourself?
It's just been overwhelming, and I don't watch much college basketball, but I do for about 4 weeks, and it started last week. I've watched a ton of that, a lot of the NBA, obviously. Tennis has been okay so far, and there's so much going on. I guess hockey is still chugging along. How are we
Of
doing? How are things going? Or
of
we just
course,
cashing
hockey.
these big spreads against bad teams over and over
That
again?
that's what we're trying to do, and we can find it. And it's almost like you can see the graphic coming up that I have for tonight's hockey action. So we can go ahead and put that up. I'm still sticking with fading the bad teams and going with the good teams. I don't really understand the Golden Knights getting this much value here at -1.5 against your Flyers. Your Flyers, not a very good hockey team. They're not playing very good hockey as of late. They've lost 4 out of their last 5. 3 in a row have been straight up, and I think the last 3 they're getting outscored like 16-3. Vegas has been really good. They've won 4 out of their last 5. They won 3 in a row. 2 of those wins have come against the Hurricanes and the Lightning, which 2 Eastern Conference heavy hitters. Granted, it seems like every team that makes the playoffs in the East is going to be a heavy hitter, but they're playing really good hockey. And Jonathan Quick, who I talked about coming over from the Kings at the deadline, he was a veteran who seemed to be a little bit over the hill, and he got a little bit pissed off getting traded from the Kings, and he's playing some really, really good hockey since coming to Vegas. I really like them on the road, getting that much value at almost 1.5 to 1 over your Flyers. Um, and the Bruins, we're gonna just kind of try and climb the ladder here. Then -1.5 is just absolutely zero value to it. So we're gonna take them -2.5 at +104. We're gonna sprinkle it -3.5 at +265 as well. They come to play the Blackhawks tonight. The Blackhawks, as we've talked about several times, they are tanking hard for Bedard. They're bad for Bedard, whichever hashtag you want to use.
Being bad
Boston's
dard.
bad. I like that. Bad dart. I really like that. Boston has actually lost 2 of their last 3, which is wild. Maybe it's time to fade the Bruins. No, not really. They're still unbelievably good. They're allowing just over 2.1 goals per game, 2.14 goals per game allowed. The Hawks are scoring under 2.5 goals per game, and oh, by the way, they're down. Their 2 leading points, highest point total leaders from this year because they've traded Patrick Kane and Max Domi both. The Hawks, give them some credit. They play with a lot of grit. They don't really give up and quit all that often. They're going to play pretty tough, but they're just really bad. And Boston, I think, is going to come in and roll them tonight, especially in a little bit of a get right spot for them, having lost 2 out of the last 3. So look for Boston to come in and blow out my Blackhawks tonight. Fingers crossed that they do. We need to keep losing games and keep not getting to overtime so we don't pick up any meaningless points. So give me Vegas -1.5 +142, and let's climb the ladder with the Bruins tonight against my Hawks.
I like this. Is there a 4.5 at some sort of ridiculous price?
Oh, you know what? I can pull up on FanDuel right now. I would have to. Yeah, I think they have alternate lines that go up to maybe even 5.5 sometimes. I know they
How
go up
often
with
does
the.
that happen? Should I be
Oh,
putting like
I
a
mean,
dollar on
I
that?
mean now we're getting to what I think I talked about on Friday with Team Canada getting laying 6 against the UK hockey team or whatever the hell it is. Let's see, alternate puck line. We have the Boston Bruins -4.5 +630, -5.5 +1,200, -6.5, 20 to 1. I don't know. Maybe a -5.5 or -6.5. Who knows? Let's get weird with it. I like it. Let's climb the ladder. Let's climb the ladder even higher.
Exactly. Let's get all the way up there. I like that quite a bit. And again, NHL, the other major sport that continues to go on, my NBA, and
No Bulls
it's
tonight, thankfully.
it was nice for everybody involved that we don't have to have the Bulls tonight. Did get the Jazz cover. That was pretty comfortable. Our big total did sneak over towards the end. It turns out the Timberwolves were really good, and Dan's Hawks not so much. So the Hawks did their part. The Timberwolves, though, that's kind of more important long term. We need them to get up to that 6 seed and or even stay at 7. They'll win the play-in tournament. But a handful of games tonight. Tuesday night, we've got 8 games on the slate. 2 I have picks for. The other 6, again, just a really messy time of the year. The Hornets are 7.5-point underdogs at home against Cleveland. Looks like Jarrett Allen is out tonight. Again, Cleveland probably covers that number, but I'm happy to kind of skip that game. It was right near some of the numbers that I had and ran earlier today. Nuggets, 1-point underdogs in Toronto. A really interesting number, but you've got no Jamal Murray tonight for the Nuggets, it seems like. And the Raptors have been very highly rated pretty much all season. And as you start to look, the Nuggets were 6-point favorites at home a couple weeks ago against the Raptors. You take Murray out, that gets you to 4. You flip it over to Toronto, and that number kind of makes sense to me. So at first glance, you might be surprised to see the Nuggets as underdogs. That should be right about a pick 'em. Lakers playing the Pelicans, kind of like the Lakers as a pick 'em, maybe playing under there a little bit later, but everything was pretty close to my number. Magic Spurs, our Magic should do very well, but happy skipping that spread and all that stuff. Bucks Suns, it's a back-to-back for both teams. Not even really sure who's playing. That's a mess. And lean to the Blazers, but I'm not interested in betting a Blazers game. So the 2 games I did bet, though, I have an over here in the Washington Wizards Detroit Pistons game. And as much as it is 2 bad teams playing, they've been putting up a decent amount of points. The Wizards have been great offensively, especially at home. The Pistons are happy to run up and down the floor with some of these teams. And again, although the level of player out there isn't very good, these are guys just trying to get their minutes, and the more pace there is, generally the more points. I had this closer to 226, so anything 222, 223, I'll probably draw the line right at 223 or lower. Looks like a really nice over spot there. Again, it's tough with 2 bad teams, but this should be a good game. I think Washington maybe just puts up a big enough number to almost get there with the Pistons not having to do too much even. So like the over there. And then the Oklahoma City Thunder, love them at home. They've been great all season. They're just 1.5-point favorites here over the Brooklyn Nets, and it's just a fantastic matchup for them. I mean, not only are they at home, there's really no one on the Nets here that's going to take advantage of the Thunder's lack of big men. The Thunder have some really nice perimeter defenders, and it should be a great game and a lot of fun to watch. But Oklahoma City at home, I had this closer to 4, so really anything 2 or less looks good. So even 1.5, and I know how scary that is versus -1, but it very rarely happens. Don't worry about it. Lay the 1.5 there at -110. So an over and the Thunder.
I feel like we're close to calling it our Thunder, because I feel like every time I'm on this show, you have a Thunder bet, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I feel like you like to bet them a lot. I feel like that's a team that you kind of trusted, or at least seem to have figured out, them a little bit this season.
They've just been great. They've been great at home, and certain matchups are really good for them. I mean, anybody that has a good big man or a couple players that really attack the basket a lot, and it might be a good night, say, for Cam Thomas. But overall, the Nets are more of a perimeter team, and it matches up nicely. So give me the Thunder at home. And Brooklyn, again, kind of sneakily tanking some of these games. They've been benching everybody a lot lately, so happy to go against them.
What do you think about what Patrick's asking here? Is he still safe with his Jokic MVP ticket, or is he just want to have to hedge out? How are we doing there? How are we looking?
If you're worried about that, get yourself some Embiid. It's Jokic or Embiid at this point. I think Giannis has been out a little too much. His numbers aren't quite as staggering. And I think, again, we're barreling towards an Embiid or Jokic thing, and it's super close. I mean, exactly. You've got that. They're going to play on March 27th. Last time, Embiid really just kind of punked him, honestly, in Philadelphia. So we'll see what he can do in Denver when Jokic is at home. So I think it's pretty close to 50-50 lean Jokic, but there's enough basketball left to make this decision. So if you are a little worried, which maybe you should be, I don't know. I mean, you've got a good ticket, but if you bet a little too much on it, get yourself some Embiid just to balance the book.
It's interesting that the 3rd straight year now the MVP race is going to come down to 2 centers.
It's unbelievable what's happening in the league. I mean, in terms of what Jokic has been able to do, and Embiid has a chance to be the first center, I think, in forever to be a back-to-back scoring leader. It's just
That is
incredible
also
what the 2 of
wild.
them are doing.
Should I talk some baseball?
I mean, I don't care, but
Come on,
I mean, you've
care.
got
Your
an itch
Philly,
here. I like these
your
bets
Phillies
that are
just went to
going.
the.
This is fascinating here. Chris
We're
Sale.
talking injured pitchers. We're
Yeah,
talking.
that's what I mean.
Well,
You've
I
got an
shouldn't say
over
they're
here that
injured
I'm
now.
concerned
We're
about,
talking.
and an
We're
under
talking
that makes a ton
off.
of sense.
Yeah, we're talking oft injured pitchers. I like one over and I like one under. I'll start with Chris Sale out in Boston. I'm going to take his over 165 Ks for this year. I'm banking on him being pretty healthy, yes, but when fully healthy, he's a guy that goes way, way, way over that total. Like it's like 2019, his last full season he threw, wasn't even a very good year for him. Had a 4.4 ERA, was 6-11 through just 147 pitches. Still struck out 218, 158. Excuse me, 237 strikeouts. He's a guy that goes way over this total when he's healthy. So I like him, even if he's not totally fully healthy this year. I think 160 is a number that he can cruise by. You look at his injuries. Yeah, he had Tommy John a couple years ago, but you look at that for pitchers. That's not something that's really necessarily a career anymore. That's something that pitchers just pretty much get. That's a couple years ago now. And since then, the injuries for him have kind of been the freak ones. He took a line drive off his thumb. Like that's not really an injury prone thing. That's a freak injury. He had some broken ribs. Like that's not really an injury prone thing. That's just kind of a bad luck. So this is me banking on Chris Sale staying relatively healthy this year, not even a full season.
Low number.
Also, it's a very low number for him. And also it looks like Corey Kluber is going to get the opening day nod in Boston, and Chris Sale is a very temperamental pitcher. He's a guy that likes to have a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to say all the right things in the media about not getting the opening day nod. But I think that's something that you see him come out with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder on for too. So give me that over 160.5. That's not a very big number for him to clear, and it's not something where he's going to have to be healthy all year or really more than like 60% of the season, honestly, if he's, throwing how he can. And we're going to take Jacob deGrom's under 188.5. This is me going the other's way. He hasn't been healthy in 2 years. He hasn't, let me pull up his MLB reference here. He hasn't thrown over 95 innings in the last 2 years. He hasn't been anywhere near healthy. He was really healthy in the COVID year, was really good then. Struck out 104 over 68 innings, but the last 2 years, he's going to strike out some people when he's on the field. But this is just me banking on him not being on the field. I took the bait and sprinkled on him a little bit NL MVP last year. Obviously, that came back to bite me big time. But I don't think in Texas this year, after signing the big deal, that he's going to be all that healthy. I don't think that they're going to be a team that's all that good. I think that under 188.5 is a, I'm not going to call it a lock, but I really like that number. I just think it's a high total for him for a guy that hasn't been able to stay on the field and who's had, unlike Chris Sale, not necessarily bad luck injuries. He's had oblique issues, which are common for pitchers. He's had forearm and elbow discomfort. Like these are lingering issues for pitchers, unlike Chris Sale's injury where, he takes the line drive off the thumb, he breaks a rib, whatever. I like leaning the under there. As good as he is, I think he's going to be really good when he's on the field. I'm just not sure how often we're going to see him this year because, like I said, signed the big deal on what's probably going to be a pretty bad baseball team out there in Texas. So give me the Chris Sale over 160.5, Jacob deGrom under 188.5.
Talked me into this. I like both of these quite a bit. And
right, there's some logic with the Sale there. I know you were skeptical at first. We got some logic there.
Well, I like it. You talked about they're not really, soft tissue injuries or injury prone kind of stuff, just a little unlucky. And 160 is a very low number. deGrom, as good as he is, when's the last time he pitched more than 20 games, 25 games?
Exactly. Before the COVID year, he was staying healthy and, he was fine. I'm looking here before he had 201 innings thrown in 17, 217 and 18, 204 and 19. Won those Cy Youngs in 18 and 19. But really, since the COVID year, those 2 years, he hasn't been able to stay on the field. He hasn't cleared 95 innings in either of those 2 years, and those have been full seasons. And the 2021, he had the ERA almost under 1 for those starts, but again, he threw 92 innings. So I feel bad betting on an injury, but history shows with deGrom the last couple of years that health isn't there. And I don't know about you, but the older I get, my body doesn't tend to, feel better and stay healthier. Usually things start to break down a little bit more. And if these are these soft tissue injuries, the elbow, the oblique, it's not something that's going to get better.
Yeah, that stuff is tough. So we'll see how he does. I love deGrom. It should be a lot of fun. But let's move forward. And while we're waiting for sports this afternoon, tonight, tennis this afternoon. There's tennis all afternoon. There's some great matches and a nice symmetry. There was 8 NBA games. There's 8 women's tennis matches. And again, 6 matches I didn't bet, 2 that I did. And we'll start with a very familiar bet here. A first set over 9.5 here for Ivondrousova Mahova. really like the over here. These are two women that play really tight matches, both from the Czech Republic, have played each other a bunch of times in WTA events and otherwise, and expect this first set to be really tight. We'll stack this one up when I get a chance to a little bit later, probably. I mean, 9.5 at anything better than standard juice looks good. I had this closer to -125. And then we're going to go back to Iga Swiatek unders. These were just cruising for the last couple weeks. Andreescu really played one of the best matches she's played in a long time, gave Iga everything she had yesterday, and finally kind of pushed one of these matches over. Got pretty lucky here. The market adjusted back up to 18.5. I had this closer to 17.5 myself. Raducanu has been a really nice player, but it should be absolutely outmatched today. And the way Iga got pushed around yesterday, I expect her to come out and play really well today. She generally responds in these spots. So going to take under 18.5 games there, and we'll just get back to Iga smacking people around. And again, an over 9.5 in that first set there in the other match. Both of them will be this afternoon.
I like that. I got a plus money over, and then I got let's bet on Iga to be dominant. I really like that too. I'm in. I'm in on both of those. Maybe I'll parlay.
Pretty straightforward. And again, you've been watching all this college basketball. Before we get into this, have you filled out a bracket yet?
I have filled out one bracket. I believe I had Alabama beating Houston in the final, and then who else did I have in the final? Before I had Memphis and somebody else I can't remember.
I still
wasn't a big seed.
Let me see which region it is. Yeah, I don't know who to pick in the East. I don't want to pick Purdue.
I went with Memphis in that region, and it might be recency bias because they smacked Houston, who was I know down a player in the AAC final, but I think that region's pretty wide open. I think Marquette has a pretty nice lane to do it too. My brother went to Purdue. I root for Purdue basketball because he's a big fan. I'm not diehard, but I casually root for them. I was at the Big Ten championship game at the United Center on Sunday, and watching them try and hold on to a lead late against a Penn State team that's fairly talented, but they're going to run into some more talented teams in this region. I don't trust them to close out basketball games. They're basically. I mean, they're Zach Edey or bust for the most part. They have a few guys that can do some good things, but when your starting backcourt is both freshmen and they struggle to break a press, it spells trouble for me come tournament time. I think they're talented. I just don't like the lack of experience in their backcourt with their two guards.
It just looks like another Purdue team with some soft, big guys and guards that aren't really that good.
Zach Edey is really good.
Big Ten collapse.
Zach Edey is a really, really good basketball player, and if they had it's a shame that last year they fell because him paired with Jaden Ivey and having an elite guard who can handle the ball and score from out there. That was really their big chance to go and win a national title. Obviously, they lost to St. Peter's. This year, just as good as Edey is, that's pretty much all they got offensively. As he is, when he gets the ball on the low block, turns to his right and hits that little hook. I think I was counting. He was like 8 of 9 on that shot from the field on Sunday. He's really good with it. But that's if he's not going or if he gets into foul trouble, they're done.
I like that quite a bit, and that's why I need help in that East region because I don't want to pick Purdue. I'm not going to pick Duke.
Sleeper Memphis, best value probably Marquette. Marquette's playing some
Kansas State because no one else is going to pick Kansas State.
You could
goofy like that, but agree with you on Houston. I had them. I've got UCLA in the.
That's
West,
who I got. That's my other team, UCLA.
And then the bet I did want to pick about the team that I like quite a bit in the South, and again, coming at this with just a week's preparation. But as I start to look at the tournament, the way these things generally set up, what kind of teams you're looking for. Creighton checks all the boxes for me. They're a 6th seed in the South. They've got to. They've been Alabama's quarter there, and they're going to have a tough second round game probably against Baylor. But this is a really strong team. They've got solid depth. The difference between their best players and worst players isn't that wide. And they have plenty of good players to kind of make up for that. You kind of want balance here in this tournament, especially where you've got 5 fouls in the NCAA. And the worst thing you can have is your best player get 2 fouls in that first 4 or 5 minutes of the first half, and you're just dead. So I like teams that are a little deep. They've got some experience. They played a lot of good teams this year. They make their free throws, one of the better free throw shooting teams in the tournament. They have one of the better 3-point shooting, not only rates, but make percentages of any team in the tournament. So again, play really strong defense. I'm curious to see how that matchup with Baylor goes. I really think the winner of that game takes this section. as good as Alabama's been, that second round game against Maryland, Virginia is going to be kind of tough. Maryland, West Virginia is going to be tough. Then either San Diego State, maybe Virginia there in the second round. And by the time they get to, the quarterfinal, it's hard to think of that. It's weird using tennis terms, but it really is just a quarterfinal against either Creighton or Baylor. I like either of those teams. So really happy to take Creighton here. These are some nice numbers, plus 800 to make it to the Final Four again, to win their quarter, just to make the quarterfinals there, plus 390. So two really nice numbers here. And I'm backing I guess they're the Jays. I didn't actually look what their mascot was.
I think they're the Jays. Jays.
Is it just a J? That's very simple. I feel like they would answer it.
Blue Jays.
Blue Jays. Duh.
Dan chiming in from above there with that voice.
Producer Dan knows all the mascots.
He does. I like that.
That would be a fun contest to have. Print out all the Division I college basketball schools and leave it blank and see how many people can fill in all the mascots.
I do okay for a lot of them, but once you get to the mid-major schools, I'd struggle big time. I feel like
there are
Tigers
people that could do 300 just off the top of their head or something, or 250 at least.
Yeah, I think I'd get to a point where I just start guessing Tigers, knowing I'll hit a few of them.
I like that. All right, anything else we have to cover today? As always, my favorite thing. Let me check and see. Is there random soccer today?
I think there might be. No, Wednesday's Premier
There's
League.
Champions League today.
Oh, what do we have today? Who's on?
We got
taking both unders.
Porto and Inter Milan, and then Manchester City against Leipzig.
I probably won't take
over.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Manchester City over. I think they might. I don't know what it is, but I know they're really good.
It's 3 at plus money, and I know that I hate handicapping stuff this way, but they really want you to bet the over. 3 plus money.
I'll take it. I'll bite.
I think I am going to take.
I'm going under over.
But yeah, I'll go under in Porto and Milan. Maybe a draw in Porto Milan too.
Oh, I like that. I'll sprinkle on the draw.
Zach score 1-1. Porto Milan.
What's the odds on that?
I have no idea.
Okay, let's take it. I'm in.
It's a nice big plus money. Maybe I'll play the 0-0 too.
I'm excited for after this show when we have our wrap up with Dan, where he tells us how bad our soccer picks are.
Yeah, let's just go under over. We'll keep it nice and simple.
There you go, under over
today in Champions League. There you go. Mechanical money parlay, but I just saw that question from Patrick. I don't think so, Patrick. I mean, the price for Creighton built in basically them playing Alabama. So if Alabama gets knocked out, your money line rollover is going to get really messed up at that point. And then maybe we get lucky and Baylor gets messed up in the first round. So that's kind of why I like some of these futures better than the rollover parlays.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's time and place for them, but I like your future here.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Great job in the comments. Give us a thumbs up. Dump a comment down there at the bottom, and we'll see you tomorrow for some hump day action.